Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Brittany and I like to read and talk about it. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. Today we're going to be going over the 12 books that I did read in the month of August. I really don't have much to say this time around. Normally my intros are like 7 hours long, but I literally have nothing to say, so let's just jump right into it. The first book that we are starting off with is The Wastelander by ES Luck. This was a gifted book that I received that I did want to get read in the month of August. And I rated this a 3-star. If you do like dystopian or like post-apocalyptic books, you probably would really like this one. I personally love them. I say this all the time, 3, 3.5, like all of those are still really good ratings for me. Like the more I read, just the pickier I am. But at the same time, like sometimes it's like I'm throwing out a 5-star because he asked who did this to you. I think the main reason that this was a 3-star and not a 4-star is because it felt like there were a couple plot holes. For example, there's a friend in this in the beginning and she like goes missing, or like she just disappears, and really the main character never like questions where this girl went. She like, I think she does maybe one time, and then the rest of the book she just completely forgets she exists. Like months go by and she has no, like she doesn't think about her friend at all. And I was like, that's kind of strange, because if this is like your, like my best friend, if she went missing, I would, even if I thought that she was dead, like I would still think about her very often. So I thought that was weird. And then I also just feel like I didn't really know enough about like the world and the way that this was set up. We learned a little bit about like the history of this compound, like why things are the way they are, but at the same time we don't really know much. I feel like we didn't get as much as I wanted, and I'm sure the second book probably goes into more detail and there's probably more to it. So I probably will read the second book as well, just because I'm very curious to see where the storyline goes after the way this one ended. This did kind of feel like a crossover of like The 100 and The Walking Dead, but without like zombies. It made me think of The Walking Dead because of the whole like post-apocalyptic like survival aspect of this, and then it made me think of The 100 because of like Grounders. They kind of like, Grounders are like the Wasteland, or the Wastelanders, kind of like similar aspects. This follows Claire. She lives in this compound that was made for like the elite, the wealthy, whatever, and her dad was included in that. And this was because there was a sickness that was just killing off people, and something happens, there's like an attack, and she ends up on the outside of this compound in the wasteland. She kind of was always taught that the Wastelanders are super crazy cannibals, don't care about anyone, anything, like all fend for themselves, which, you know, there are definitely people out there that were like that, but there's also normal people out there. And she ends up running into one, and then they kind of are like doing this whole survival thing together. They also have like their own side mission quest thing that they're doing. So it was really enjoyable. There were just some aspects that missed the mark for me, but I definitely do still want to continue the series at some point and see kind of where it goes. The next book that I did read in the month of August is So Not Meant to Be by Meghan Quinn. This was a 3.75. They're yearning in this book. Oh my gosh, top tier. I love JP. I think JP was perfect, and so far out of the first book and the second book, out of the Kane brothers, I do like JP I think more. Haven't read the third one obviously yet. I don't feel like the pull anytime soon to read the third one. I think it's just because we know nothing about him. I feel like the third brother is kind of just there. He doesn't give me anything right now, but those end up being kind of the best books, so fingers crossed. Kelsey did annoy me a little bit, and I just didn't really care for like the podcast aspect of this. I really wanted to learn more about like her role working with them and like her actual business rather than the podcast, but like there's a reason for the podcast. It kind of ties into something that happens, but it's like it could have been without it personally. And she kind of irritated me. Like I liked her at first, and then the further I got into it, I was like, okay girl, you're kind of doing too much. But definitely love JP. So this is kind of like a forced proximity workplace romance. Kelsey is like a super hopeless romantic, just wants to find her person, and JP is constantly like hitting on her, pretty much like implying that he wants to be with her, but she has this like, no, I'm not gonna date you, you're my coworker, blah blah blah. They end up blindly matching on like this dating app, and they have to sit through the date and everything. Then they get sent to, I think it was Seattle? Oh, I'm sorry, San Francisco. They have to stay in the same penthouse during the trip, so they're around each other all the time, and I just thought it was cute. It was a good time. It wasn't as funny as the first one. The first one had me literally rolling on the floor laughing, And I think it's just because of the whole fake date. Like the first one, there's like a fake dating trope and they have to go on like these actual fake dates with this other couple. And I just thought it was so funny. This one had humor, but it wasn't to the same extent. So, still enjoyable, but I like the first one more, but I like JP more. Like, I wish JP was in the first book with like the first plot. And then Huxley was in this one. You know what I mean? Next, I did read Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. This was a 5-star, absolutely no notes. This was awesome. I am doing a full Throne of Glass reading vlog, but it's just taking me a long time. As you can see, I'm only on Crown of Midnight, and I started this video, I think, in like February, or probably even before that. I was originally going to read 1 book a month, but just, you know, I'm not doing that well. But there was a lot that happened in this one that I feel like was such development for the series that I literally thought happened further into the series. There were lines in this book and stuff that I've seen on TikTok that I literally thought were like towards the end of the series. I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't realize like all these pivotal moments happened so soon. So I really enjoyed this. I'm very curious to see where it goes from here. I'm very curious to see romances and like all of that other stuff. Like I'm just so curious. I did start the next one, but I haven't gotten that far into it because I got distracted. That's my issue. I'm a mood reader, so like I'll start a book and then I'll get like 20% into it and then I'm like, oh my god, I'm really in the mood for this book. And then I start that book and then I completely forget about this other book and then I just keep starting more books. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I started that book 2 months ago. It's fine. Another 3.75. 3.75s were very popular for me this month. For some reason, I feel like you get a 3.75. You get a 3.75. I feel like I was handing them out. But The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. This was really enjoyable. This is another one that I really annotated. I don't know if I even mentioned it. This one I annotated. I don't think you guys care that I annotated them, but I just figured I'd show you. I really liked some of the lines that were in this book. I thought that they were really good lines. Like they had like some lyrical moments and everything. I did rate this 3.75 because I love Petra and Achilles. I love them so much. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people don't like Achilles. I get it. I do. I see your point of view, but I'm always going to love Achilles. And I did say it in the vlog that I was reading this, that probably the reason I feel that way is because I love Madeline Miller's version of Achilles through Patra's eyes, but that's okay. I like him, okay? And anyways, the reason this was a 3.75 is because as much as I do love him, I feel like this story focused a lot on him, and I do know that you can't have Briseis without Achilles because she is his war prize, so without that, we wouldn't really know her existence, her story, or anything. But this was supposed to be like her story and just like about the woman and stuff at the war camp, and I still found myself so drawn to Patro and Achilles stories that like every little breadcrumb we were getting like in the beginning, I was just like eating up, and then it ends up switching to his POV like halfway through, and then I completely forgot about her for the longest time because I was like, oh my god, Achilles and Patro. It didn't focus as much on what I wanted it to focus, and it did feel a little repetitive because most of it was just her talking about the conditions of the war camp, and it was just very repetitive. And again, I understand that the conditions in the war camp and all of that was repetitive. It was a, you know, day-to-day life doing the same stuff, so like I do get it. I just feel like it didn't need to be so much like a big chunk of it. But I did still really enjoy this. I loved seeing her POV on everything. If you aren't familiar with anything from like the Iliad or anything like that, this follows Briseis, and she is Achilles' war prize. She ends up getting caught up between him and Agamemnon because he wants to take her as like punishment because he hates Achilles. That's pretty much summed up. Like they're both Achilles and Agamemnon both like just have their own faults, and well, we don't like Agamemnon. I don't like him at all. I don't think he's got any redeeming qualities. I just think he's just very immature. But yeah, it follows like her life in the war camps after her whole village gets slaughtered and destroyed. I also was not expecting to ugly cry over Patroclus again. I can't escape it. That was unexpected. It just started bawling again. Up next, one of my favorite reads. Actually, it might be my favorite read of the month, maybe? Ooh, I don't know. There are a couple good ones, but this is definitely probably going to be one of my favorite reads of the year next to a couple. honestly, I've had a lot of really good reads this year. When I do like my final videos at the end of the year, like tier ranking and all my 5 stars and everything, it's gonna be so hard because I feel like I've read so many like god tier books this year. At this point in the year, September is when I'm filming this, I probably have had like 30, 45 stars. Like I've had so many 5 stars. I don't know if I'm just like that easy to please or if I've been reading really, really good books. I don't know, but I guarantee you by the end of the year I'm gonna have like 65 stars because like I said, sometimes all it takes is like one line and I'm like, oh, 5 star. Anyways, this is My Friends by Fredrik Backman. This book, I was not expecting to love this book the way that I did, because when you read like the synopsis, you're like, oh, okay, like that's cool, I guess. Like, sounds interesting, but this book like changed something within me that is so dramatic, but like I just loved this book. This is another one that I heavily annotated. I doubt you can see it, but I loved this book so much, and I thought Beartown was going to be my favorite book by him, but this takes the cake easily, and I cannot wait to read more of his books. He literally is becoming one of my all-time favorite authors, and I've only read 2 books by him so far, but I'm just obsessed. I'm obsessed with him as a person, his books, so I cannot wait to read more. Anyways, My Friends by Fredrik Backman. This follows Louisa. She ends up going to this art gallery, breaking in I should say, because she really wants to see this painting right here. It's been like a life dream of hers. She was obsessed with this painting. She had a postcard of it. She was raised in like I couldn't think of the name last time I talked about this book, and now I can't think of the name again. I want to say foster home. If that's not right, sorry, but she ends up like sneaking out, breaking into this museum art gallery show thing to see this painting. She gets kicked out. And while she gets kicked out, she actually ends up meeting the artist who made this painting. He is outside of the building, and they end up painting together and like bonding and everything. Things happen, and she ends up actually getting custody of this painting. And she's like, I have no idea what to do with it. I'm like 18 years old. I don't have a home. I don't have money. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? She ends up meeting the artist's friend, and he finally agrees to travel to bring her to his hometown so they could try to sell the painting together. So this entire book, you're on this journey kind of with them on the train, reminiscing about his childhood and the story behind this painting, like how this painting came to be, and like his life, and about the artist and like this group of friends. And oh my gosh, I cried, I laughed, I just had such a good time. Louisa is so funny. And Ted, I can't remember, but I want to say he's like in his late 30s. And then Louisa just is like freshly 18, and she is so funny. She roasts Ted all the time, like constantly calling him like old man and acting like he's geriatric and everything. It's so funny. But then also like on the same page, you will laugh and then you will cry, because this book, oh my god, this book is so good. And I just wish I could recommend this book to everybody, but I do also know that this style of like writing and this genre and everything isn't for everybody. It is slower, and it is like less, like there's not really action or anything necessarily, but it is so good. This is, I love this book so much. I actually do want to do a reread at some point. Probably will wait till next year, obviously, since I just read it, but it's so good. Oh my gosh. And there was just such good lines in here that I would love to just like open it up and reference and see, because I do like to do that when I annotate books. I have some books that like, if I'm having a hard time, like I will go to the book and like open it up and find quotes that I know are gonna make me feel better. Or if I just need a good laugh, or if there's a specific like spicy scene in a book that I love, like I love going back. That's why I love to annotate. I will always go back to my annotations. Up next, I did read The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. This was another 3.75. This was really good. The only reason it wasn't like a 4 or 5 star is because one, it's kind of short, so I didn't get as much as I wanted, obviously. Then the very obvious part is that this was written in the 1800s, so the writing style is just completely different than what I'm used to, and it took me a little bit to like kind of get into it and figure out what was actually, you know, going on and everything. And I just feel like classics are kind of hard to rate unless I'm like a literal literature major, or like I do something, I dive into classics all the time and everything, which I don't. This is probably one of my first ones in a very long time. Like this is probably my first classic that wasn't like school mandated, if I'm if I'm thinking correctly. So I definitely do want to get into more, especially with fall coming up. I have a couple on the list that I really, really want to get into. I feel like fall and classics is like the perfect time because it's like moody and gloomy and like just the vibes with like a cup of coffee. Like I would love to go to a cafe and like read a classic, and I just feel like that'll be so nice. I got off track. I do find this really interesting that even back in 1895, H.G. Wells was able to imagine such a bleak, like lifeless, miserable future for us, because I genuinely think that's the direction that we're going to be going in. I don't think this is really that far off. So I did find that so interesting because in my head I'm like 1895, like that's crazy to like, I don't know, like you guys were just like raw dogging your thoughts. No Google, nothing. This was really good. This is another one that I think would be really good to reread, especially now that I did do a full like read through. I think a reread would be better because there were certain parts where I found myself like accidentally tuning out. I had to read the page a couple times, but I do think I like his writing and I definitely want to read more of his stuff. Oh look, I literally put, the imagery is beautiful. I literally highlighted that entire page. Yeah, I did really like his writing. So I also really like this copy that I have. I'm pretty sure this was from Amazon. I don't know. I got it as like a gift for Christmas, I think, last year, but so pretty. Up next, I did read The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This was a 5-star. My review for this book literally says, me every time Jax appears, and then it's the blah blah blah, proper name, place name, backstory stuff. That was literally me. I was like, oh my god, this is so interesting. Jax! Like, I don't know what it is about Jax, but I love him so much. I feel like the yearning and the tension in this one was so good. I don't know, I can't say if I like the first one or this one better because the first one was very whimsical and like fairy tale-esque. And like this one was too, but it just also had higher stakes. And also, I completely forgot until I was just talking about this now, the ending, the last like 10% of this book had me, I forgot that I wanted to read the third one soon because of the way this ended. I'm not okay. I love every single book Stephanie Garber has written so far that I have read. I want it inked into my skin, in my veins. I need it as like an IV drip because just the way she writes, I personally love. It feels like I'm reading like Disney movies, but like older Disney movies from like when we were growing up, like the classics, you know. I don't know if I said this, but 5 stars. Do you wanna? You can come up. Come here. It's okay. You can come up. Come, yes. Come on. Yes. Yes. Oh, hello, my sweet boy. Oh my goodness. Can I finish filming? Is that okay? Can I finish? You kind of are blocking. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Good boy. That's a very good boy. That is a very good boy. Up next, I don't have a physical copy of this, but it was The Judgement of Paris by Dr. Rebecca Sharp. This is part of the Odyssey duet. It is a professor-student romance. The first one is The Fall of Troy. And I think I read that one in the beginning-ish of this year. I rated this 3.5. I said it was fine. Like, I liked it. I love the professor-student trope. I do like the characters, but it did feel a little flat and repetitive for me up until the 40% mark, I'd say. At that point, it did get really, really interesting, but it already took me a while to get to that point. So I think when I got to that point, I was kind of like, you know what the thing was? A lot of it was predictable. And that's normally fine. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I hate this book because it's predictable, because a lot of books are predictable, you know what I mean? Like, tropes get recycled and everything. But it just, I don't know. I think by the time I got to the point where things interesting were happening, I was just like kind of over it. I didn't get that like forbidden romance because it wasn't necessarily forbidden because this time it takes place in Paris. Without spoiling too much of what happens in the first book, this one takes place in Paris. He is back in Paris professing. Is that the right word? Being a professor. And then she ends up doing like a study abroad type situation. So she ends up going as well and meeting friends there. And it's just kind of like the whole teacher-student thing all over again. But it didn't feel like a forbidden romance or anything like that. And I didn't get like that excitement, the yearning, any of that, because everything happened kind of fast. And I just feel like when it's like a taboo thing like that, you need to have some sort of like slow burn, tension, stuff like that. But I guess because it's a second book, they didn't really want to do all that. But I just feel like the first book and the second book should have been combined into one book and then cut out some of the filler, and I think it would have worked out a lot better personally than 2 separate books. Up next, I did read House of Sky and Breath, again by Sarah J Maas. This was another 5-star. I personally love Crescent City so much. I know this is such a hit or miss with some people. I love urban fantasy. That is one of my favorite sub-genres for fantasies, like urban fantasies or gothic fantasies. Sign me up. I'll probably eat it up every time. So I really love Crescent City. It's actually, the first one is my favorite Sarah J Maas book currently as like a standalone. But again, I haven't finished Throne of Glass, so I don't know where that's gonna go. But I just really liked it. I did rate this 5 stars. This was originally gonna be probably like a 4.75, but here's what I was saying earlier where I say all it takes is one thing to happen for me to immediately be like, oh, never mind. This was a 4.75 up until like the last part. And I'm not spoiling anything, trust me. But something that happens at the end of this book, I can't. I feel like, oh my gosh. I was like 5-star. And all it took was me seeing this character for me to just like be enthralled again by this character, because I almost forgot about this character. Like, not really, but I've read so many other books and had so many other book boyfriends that I completely forgot about this character. Just seeing the description of this character, I was like, oh my gosh. I do think I still like the first one better because I feel like I I was able to kind of connect a little more, I guess, because the whole thing was about Bryce and Danica was her best friend. This one is about, I don't even remember her name. So this one is about Sophie, who I had no idea who she was, and all I really knew about her was that she knew Danica, and then that was really it. So I didn't have like that connection of her being like best friends with Bryce or anything like that, and I feel like that was what made the first book a little more emotional. But this one was still so good. This is just honestly them trying to get back to normal life after the events of the first book, and then they end up going on this little, I'm gonna call it quest to figure out what happened to Sophie, and a lot of things happen, a lot of things go down. So good, super enjoyable. The next book I did read was The Lost World by Michael Crichton, and this was a 4.75. I love dinosaurs. I know you guys are gonna be like, we know, you've said it in multiple videos, but I just love Jurassic Park. So I read the first book, I think also this year. It was amazing, it was nostalgic, it was perfect, and I really wanted to read the second book, so I finally got around to it. And let me just say, it is crazy the changes that they made from the book to the movie adaptation. I know obviously they switch things up, that's a given with any book to movie adaptation, and like the first one they switched up, but I feel like they still kept it kind of truer to the plot. But this one, so much was changed. It felt like an entirely different movie with like a couple snippets from the book, and I would love to see this one, like this version, as a movie. I really love Sarah in the book. I do like her in the movie, but I just feel like in the book she's such a badass. I feel like they switched around like characters that they didn't need to switch, like characters that would do things in the book. They wouldn't even have that character in, but then they would give that trait or that thing to like another character that they added in that wasn't even in the book. I'm like, why couldn't you just take the character from the book? Why did you make another character and then not even include this character and then give them, like, that was interesting to me. And I love Ian Malcolm. I love him in both versions. I low-key do like the movie version more because Jeff just gives him so much like charisma, and I just love him. I think he's funny. I love his like philosophical thoughts on everything. The book did start slower because like probably like this much, so much science, evolution, philosophy talk, which I personally enjoyed, but I did see that a lot of people didn't really like that. But there was a point where I was like, okay, can the dinosaurs start doing, you know, dinosaur things? Because it felt like I wasn't really getting much dinosaurs, and I was like, I'm reading this for the dinosaurs. So I feel like that's kind of where I liked the movie a little bit more, because it was quick to jump into the action, but there were still really good like horror aspects in this as well, and like gore and the descriptions and everything. I was like, ooh. it was still really, really good. 4.75, but I can't say that I like the movie or the book more because I love them both for different reasons, but I probably will always pick the book more just because of how descriptive things are, but the movie is very nostalgic to me. Then I read Older by Jennifer Hartmann, and I rated this, you guessed it, 3.75. Like I said, I was throwing that number out like candy this month. I did really like this. A lot of people were like, oh, if you like Birthday Girl, then you would love this book, and I do agree, but I wish that there was more, like, I don't know, tension, yearning. I don't really know what it is that I wanted, like that forbidden aspect. It kind of gave, I don't want to say like Shannon and Johnny vibes, because I know the second anybody sees any sad girl, abused girl, anything like that, they're like Shannon and Johnny. But like that is kind of how I felt for a bit, because her dad is abusive, and then the main male character, the love interest, he becomes like kind of protective of her and everything. It was really, really good. I wanted more. I don't know. I just wanted more, but I can't like pinpoint what it is that I wanted more of. I just wanted like more. Then I read Little Stranger by Leigh Rivers. I rated this 3.75. My review literally says, I think I have to move up my therapy appointment because this was so fun. I'm obsessed with Malachi. First off, this book is fucked. Like, let me just clarify. It is messed up, but I loved it. So they are foster siblings. They literally grew up together, and Malachi does not speak. And let's just say there's some insane things that happen in this book. The only thing I didn't like is that they did keep calling each other brother and sister, even though they're literally not blood related. There's no blood relation. So there would be like a really good scene, and then she would say something about, oh, but you're my brother, and I'm like, oh, please stop. Stop it. You're not. There's a scene, and I'm not gonna spoil anything, but if you read this book, you know. All I'm gonna say, there's a scene where the dad like walks in, or my jaw was on the floor that whole scene, because I was like, what the actual? But honestly, it's really good. If you love like dark romance and like taboo, I recommend it. And let me just say, if you're an audiobook person, do the audiobook, because what's his name? Joe Arden, that's his name. I don't know why I forgot, but he does it justice. He literally channeled Malachi so perfectly. I was like, actually, so perfectly. Like, he just sounded so unhinged and crazy, and I ate it up. I loved it. I loved it so much. So I recommend it if you do like dark romance and taboo. I rated it 3.75 because like I was a little nervous to rate it anything more. It kind of felt wrong because the whole time I was like, what is going on? But also at the same time I was like, oh my god. So I was very conflicted on how I actually felt about it. I just knew I had fun, but it wasn't like a 5-star. And the last book that I did read for the month of August, and this I believe will be in a vlog that's coming out soon. Or did it already come out? I don't think it already came out. It'll be coming out soon. It is Quicksilver by Callie, Hart. I rated this 5 stars. Where has this book been my whole life? Because this has been on my shelf probably a year and a half now. Maybe. When did this come out? I don't even know when it came out. It's been on my shelf at least like a year and a half. I feel like a year maybe. I am so mad that I put this off as long as I have, because this gave me everything I wanted. First off, Kingfisher, 7 foot tall Kingfisher. He is, yeah, I love him. Carrion Swift, I want to put Carrion and Riddick in a room together, and just like, they're hilarious. I just would love to see them like bounce off each other, because that came out wrong. They're both funny is what I'm trying to say. They both are very, very funny and have the same personality, and I just think that they would be like best friends. That's where I was going with that. Not bounce off each other like that. I mean, I'm not opposed. Anyways, bonus points for the Little Fox Onyx. Like, this book was just so fun. This is, honestly, it's a very like cliche romantasy, I'm not gonna lie. So like if you're one of the people that just enjoy romances for the fun of them, or like you're just reading a book for the fun of it and you're not like reading too much into it, where you're like, this is not a classic literature piece of work, like if you're just reading the book for fun, you're gonna love this, because it is a girl that ends up gets transported to the Fae world, and there's a war and she has to help them. She's the only one who has this ability that can help them. It's the very like basic romantasy plot, and I eat it up every single time, and I will continue to eat it up because it's so fun to me. But this book looks thick, but I'm gonna be honest, like it flies by. Oh, sorry. It is so good. Kingfisher. And I started this book and I was like, who the I was like, Kingfisher? What kind of name is Kingfisher? No, Kingfisher. I'm obsessed with him. Like, him and Carrion, I just am obsessed with them. I don't think I said anything even about Cyrus. I like her. She's fine. But compared to them two, like, yeah. So those are all of the books that I did read in the month of August. Sorry, this video is getting to you a little bit later than usual. I've been slacking. It's fine. I'm hoping to start on my fall TBR this month, so you can definitely expect reading vlogs for that. And then I also have an anticipated fantasy release coming out as well. Hopefully that'll be coming out soon. If not the next video, then the video after that. If you guys did enjoy this video, you already know what to do. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell button next to it. That way you are notified whenever I do post. We've got fall, we've got Halloween, we've got Christmas. We have all of the months, you know what I mean? So I feel like the vlogs are going to be so fun. They're going to be hitting, and you definitely don't want to miss any of them. So without further ado, I will see you guys next week. Bye!